Hello and welcome to BlusTech. Today, we're going to be discussing a topic that is really hard for me because I did pre-order the Amico, but I have a lot of reservations about the console itself. And we're going to discuss those and why I have those reservations right now. Stay tuned. So, when talking about the Amico, one of the first reasons why I almost didn't pre-order it is because I'm worried about overpromising and misrepresenting the product. Now, I only have one real example of this, and it's just that one example. It bugs the hell out of me, and that is I've read and I've heard it advertised as the controllers having wireless charging. Now, yes, technically, by wordplay, they are wirelessly charged, but if what I have seen in the footage of the Amico is correct, then it's actually contact charging. So there's probably, I don't remember, I'll have to see if I can find a clip of it, but there's probably 3 to 5 gold-plated pins on the back of the controller, and they make contact with 3 to 5 equating pins on the Amico, or at least that's what I've seen in some videos. I'll try to get a shot of that and throw that up on screen for you. But it's just that one thing. Like, I get it. It's a technicality. It's wordplay. It's whatever. It's not understanding the technology. But all of those are reasons to have concern, because if they don't know what they're selling, then how can you be a confident buyer? So I have a bit of hesitation because of misrepresentation and overpromising the Amico. There have been a lot of promises made for the Amico, and I'm just worried it's going to be another Fable situation. I'm really looking forward to the Amico, but I don't think that it's going. I don't think that it's going to necessarily live up to all of the promises that were made. I hope it does, and I believe Tommy Tallarico when he says it's going to, but we'll see. It's a reservation. Another thing that worries me is that while Intellivision is an old name in the industry, it's not really Intellivision anymore. It's really not. It's a completely different company now. They're Intellivision in name, more or less, just in name, and that's fine. It's fine that they're a startup, and that makes it more down to earth for you and me, the basic level consumer, to talk to them and figure out how things are. They're not one of these big behemoths, but at the same time, startups are notorious, especially in the gaming industry, notorious for going belly up because of trying to reach too far, over-promising, etc. So the old company in name, but new company by nature thing worries me a bit, as it would any investor. The next thing is more on the technical side of things, the storage capacity. Even a PSP game, like a Sony PlayStation Portable game, back in the day, and I don't even remember when the PlayStation Portable launched, but it was well over a decade ago. It was probably closer to a decade and a half ago, I would guess. Even those games were, bordering a gig a piece. And, I mean, those were not anything graphically stunning, not by today's standards, even for 2.5D or 3, even for 2D or 2.5D. They were not graphically stunning. So I'm a little concerned with the storage space on the Amico. I know they've talked about going from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes. 32 is not enough. especially, 10 games. We'll say they average a gig to a gig and a half a piece. You know, that's already getting pretty close to maxing out a 32 gigabyte drive. So I really hope that they get the 64. I know that there's going to be an expansion slot on the back of it, but we're talking built-in costs. An adequate sized storage device should be included. And don't get me wrong, I'm not singling out Amico, because PlayStation 5 coming with an 825 gigabyte hard drive in today's day and age with modern game sizes, woo, yeah, big oof. No, I don't like that either. My next concern would probably be that it gets buried in the market, or gets buried in the market. I haven't seen a whole lot outside of the community by way of advertising. I mean, yeah, they've got the GameStop thing and they've got things going on over in Europe. But like, I don't see anything about it on the mainstream. Even the mainstream YouTube channels, I don't see anything about the Amico. Like, get a prototype on Linus Tech Tips, or some of the bigger name gaming channels, game rants, and get a prototype on there. Get on there with those people, because if you don't, you're just gonna get buried in the Xbox or the Xbox One X, or sorry, excuse me, Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 launches. They're just gonna get buried. I get that it's targeted at a different demographic and a different section of people, but you're still gonna get buried because the common people don't even know what it is, or that it is even a thing or an option. Which kind of leads me into demand. While I agree that the audience that Tommy Tallarico and the rest of the Intellivision group, I'll call them, have talked about is there, the problem is that, yeah, they are there. They're already there on phones. And while I understand the appeal of the Amico, which is why I pre-ordered one, I don't think I think it is a huge stretch to say that the Amico is even going to take 10% market share in the casual gaming industry. And I mean, 10% would be huge, but I'm saying, like, even getting 10% of those consumers, I don't think that's going to happen, because of getting buried in the market and, public awareness about the product. I don't think there is any public awareness about the product beyond the people in the Amico group, in the Amico space or the retro space. And that's another concern, it getting branded as a retro console, because, it's already branded that way. That ship is already sailed. It is branded as a retro console. And there's nothing you can do about it at this point. Another point that one of my viewers had put out to me is the limited number of games published a year. I don't remember exactly what Tommy said, but I know that he said they would be limiting the amount of games that were published a year. And while I do agree that that is a good idea, absolutely a good idea, I think that they need to look at something a little less drastic than what was stated. And again, I don't remember the exact amount that was stated, but to put it in perspective, in 2019, Steam, which is a very common PC platform for buying games, they published, or allowed to be published on Steam, over 9,000 games. And that's ridiculous. That's too many. But because like any developer, an indie developer will just put a game on there and it'll get buried instantly. So 9,000, yeah, that's a bit much. But like 300-400 a year minimum. I would honestly say around 600 to 1,000 if you allow, indie game devs to come in. I get that you don't want to take away from each game and you want everybody to have their equal say, but do a pinup list. You know, once a week, you put your top 5, top 10 games, brand new games that you as Intellivision see as being worth it up on the splash screen of the Amico or in the Amico store or whatever, and give them that opportunity to be on that front page. But I think that limiting to like one a week or one a day or whatever it was that was said is gonna be super limiting, because I've been looking into making my own game lately, and I would love to launch on the Amico, but it would be ridiculous to try and get on the Amico if you're only going to have 100 to 300 launches a year. And that kind of brings me to another point on the development side and on the gaming side for everybody else. It's been stated that they're going to do 2D and 2.5D games, which is fine, but like, I can tell, I'm a hardware guy, I can tell that the console is capable of rudimentary 3D games. Our phones do 3D games. Granted, like my phone, this is this is a little bit over $1,000, flagship phone. So of course it can do 3D games. But we're talking about an 8-core processor in the Amico, and all the other specs that I've seen listed. If I could get a pinned down processor name from you, Tommy Tallarico, I would be super happy, because then I could deep dive into this subject, because I love tech. But simple 3D games, actual 3D games, like simple open world, kid friendly 3D games, need to come to the Amico. I think you're going to lose a huge part of the audience if you don't have simple 3D games. And I don't mean 2D or 2.5D. There is a difference, and I understand the difference. My next concern would be the games only up to E10. ESRB ratings are really a sham to begin with, and I won't go into that. It's all very political, nonsensical. Again, I'm not going to go into that. I digress. You can restrict your content on your console without, splashing the E10 label on it, or limiting titles to only E10. I know that it's partly done, or at least I'm assuming that it's partly done, because you want that on the label. You can just say, parents immediately know it's E10. It's all going to be acceptable for kids. Yeah, I get it. It's a publicity side of things. I get that, but like in practice, I think that's going to limit you a lot too, because there's some borderline E10 titles that didn't get E10 classification because of politics, and that's dumb. And I don't think that you should be limiting game development to E10 because of that, because that's just like the movie rating industry. It's all subjective. Which brings me funnily into the next concern I have, the karma system. I've heard that it will be able to be toggled on and off, and if that is actually so, then fine. I don't have a point for the karma system. But if I can't shut it off, I don't want it. Because what's the point of playing if there's no real competition? And I don't mean handicapping good players because they're good. I understand allowing different age diversities and different classes of people or players to play together. But you have to have a... How do I want to put this? You should be able to have casual gamers and then casual gamers who like to compete. And I don't just mean on an equal level, but if somebody's better than the other person, they should be able to compete on their own levels, without the karma system getting involved. So if it can be shut off, again, I don't have a point. But I've only seen speculation. I haven't heard anything firsthand or seen anything firsthand that you can turn it on and off. So, oh, yeah, this point, the official hardware not being divulged yet. I get there's been a lot going on in 2020. COVID, murder hornets, and riots and everything else, but we have known specifications, exacting known specifications for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and they're coming out almost a full year quarter after the Amico. Why don't we have nailed down, released processor name, specific RAM type, specifically how the hard drive is set up, or because I am assuming that it's just going to be a flash memory chip, but again, all of that speculation. I don't know for sure. I have a list on my computer right now of processors that I believe to be in the Amico, and I would love to be able to publish a video that says this is what's in the Amico. I don't know if you guys are waiting for a specific press release or briefing or whatever, but yeah, the hardware the hardware release should have been months ago, because yeah, I'm a tech guy and it's very disappointing to not know about the tech yet. I've only got a couple more, so bear with me. I have concerns that to right now, as of the 13th of June, no major, and I mean major, third-party developers have been announced for the Amico. And that's very scary, because if the Amico does not get major third party, I'm talking like Ubisoft, Epic Games, Activision, big names. If we don't see big names come to the Amico, I'm sorry, but it's gonna die. I don't want it to, but without major third-party developer support, it will not survive a year. Unless the retro scene is much bigger than I have been led to believe. Don't get me wrong, the retro scene is large, but en masse, the retro scene cannot support a console on their own, let alone keeping the whole company afloat. So without major third-party developers, I'm very worried. So I hope that we get an announcement soon saying that somebody, anybody, any major third-party developer has signed on, because that would greatly ease a large portion of my doubt and my hesitation over the Amico. Another point. This one's actually specifically to you, Tommy Tallarico, because I'm hoping you're going to watch this. You watched my last one, so I hope you're going to watch this one. Are you thinking down the road? And I mean that specifically not about game releases or, the stuff on the merch store or how the controller's working or whatnot. I'm talking, are you already thinking about the Amico number 2 or the next console in the Amico line, in the Intellivision line? Because I know you're from the gaming industry, you've spent most of your life there, but I'm not really in it, but I know that in the industry it's not uncommon to be already working on the refresh for the launch console before the console even launches. And, within a year to 2 years, starting to work on the next console. So I'm just curious to know if you guys are thinking about life after the Amico over at Intellivision. Because if you're not, that really worries me. Because I want you guys to succeed, and I want you guys to have a long-term presence in the gaming industry. And if you guys aren't thinking about the next console, or at least the Amico refresh, then I'm super worried that you guys will have built a house of cards that's going to fall down in the next 2 to 3 years, best case scenario, if you guys aren't working on a refresh, like already have a refresh thought in the back of your head, and or a next gen console for 5 to 7 years from now. And that's what it all really boils down to, is hoping that this house of cards that the new Intellivision company has built. And don't get me wrong, I love playing with cards, and I'm waiting for the poker game on the Amico, but seriously, I hope the house that you built, Tommy, works, because I want it to work, and I will be here for the next console, not just this one, but the next one, and I hope that you make it. But anyways, those are my thoughts, my concerns. I have more, but I want to keep this video semi-short. I have no idea how long it's been, because this is a new format I'm trying out, and I'm doing this mostly off the cuff with just bullet points. But there's how it lay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any comments or can answer any of my questions in the comments below, that would be great. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and click that button. If you want to be notified every time I release a new video, click the bell too. Have a great day, guys.